Shaheen said, we stood up to Trump for 40 days. I mean, over 40 days later, we're not really in a different position, except people have gone more days longer without a paycheck. And it seems like just last week we were talking about how good Democrats felt about those victories.
Yep.
Does it seem like now that they shot themselves in the foot? I know you said Democrats still end up the winners of the shutdown fight, but is all that goodwill and is all that excitement from last week lost in this moment, do you think?
Yes, at least in part, no question. And again, I think that's more about the Democratic base than the average sort of swing or independent voter who probably isn't following all this stuff that closely. But yes, look, the dominant story of the last 5 days was Democratic base voters are passionate. They are turning out. Overwhelmingly large victories in Virginia and New Jersey. They won statewide races in Georgia and Pennsylvania. And now the story, at least for the next couple of days, is going to be there's this bitter divide within the Democratic Party between the liberal base that wants to fight at all times with Donald Trump and between the more establishment wing of the party represented by these 8 elected officials who felt like they needed to make a deal. Which of those two stories is better? Base excited and passionate or base divided? You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So yeah, it without question steps on their momentum. I still think net, you're going to get in 2026 probably a diminished Donald Trump, a diminished Mike Johnson, a vote on healthcare that puts Republicans in a tough place. So I think long term it might be okay, but in the short and medium term, it's Democrats sort of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory.
And that was a headline in part about Senator Chuck Schumer. And he voted against this CR. And this is what he said about it. America is in the midst of a Republican-made healthcare crisis, a crisis so severe, so urgent, and so devastating for American families that I cannot support a continuing resolution that fails to address it. But there has been knives out for Schumer since this vote. I mean, here's one of the headlines. Why does Schumer keep trying to cave? How the Senate Democratic leader and his gang of 8 keep trying to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. I mean, and Ro Khanna, he was blunt in this. Senator Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. I mean, why do you think knives are out for Schumer when he even voted against this? Does it show that he's a coward and maybe directed these perhaps somewhat safe Democrats to vote for this, A? Or B, do you think that it shows he just doesn't have control of his party?
Maybe a little of both. Right. It seems the two alternatives are like the direct opposite, though. It's like either Schumer is secretly directing all of this or he has no control. I mean, I think some of this is I don't think it should be lost that no one of these 8 Democrats is on the ballot in 2026. The 2 who would be on the ballot, Dick Durbin in Illinois and Jeanne Shaheen in New Hampshire, are retiring. Everybody else who signed, the other 6 are on the ballot in either 2028 or 2030. That is not on accident, and that will lead people who pay attention to politics to suspect Schumer's hand in that, right? That's inevitable. I also think, Brittany, some of this is just the perils of being the leader, right? I mean, you get a lot of great benefits. You're the head top-ranking Democrat in the Senate, but also you wind up bearing the blame for things that, you know, you even vote against. And I think that's just the nature of it. I also think Chuck Schumer's goose was probably cooked back in the spring when he sided with Republicans to keep the government open. Back then, the left really rebelled against him at that point. You know, he's got obviously a challenger in Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, potentially in the 2028 primary, already waiting out there. I think he's probably, I think the question is, I think he will retire before 2028. I think the question is, will he stay on as leader, or will someone challenge him either by the end of this year or between now and 2028?
Do you think then he'll get the McCarthy treatment? Because we remember 2 years ago, Speaker Kevin McCarthy's biggest crime was working with Democrats to avert a government shutdown.
Yep.
And we saw how well that ended for him. But I mean, I know Schumer's situation's here is a little different because he voted against this CR. Do you think that he will get ousted from leadership now?
You can't beat someone with no one. I've learned that in politics, right? So as unpopular as Schumer is, there's not a announced challenger to him. You know, are there ambitious Democrats in the Senate who would love to kind of get a jump on being leader? Sure. Are there enough to beat him? I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know that Chuck Schumer knows the answer to that right now. I mean, I think he's probably doing some internal caucus polling of his own to be like, hey, you're still with me, right? So let's see. I mean, I would give it another, give it till the beginning of the new year. Let's see what happens. I could see him being challenged, basically to say, like, look, we need a new leader. It's time for a fresh face. It's time for a change. I don't know if that could win a simple majority of the 47 people who caucus with Democrats. But, if you get 24 of those people to vote for you, you're the new leader. So I think he is more vulnerable today than at any time since he's been leader. Does that mean he would lose? Does that mean he's not going to be leader? I don't know. But politicians are very savvy creatures. They know when the leader of the pack is in trouble, and they sometimes move to take advantage of that.